What could be done to improve poverty and homelessness on our streets?
I think that creating more jobs and creating more awareness on drugs and drug abuse, because I feel like drug abuse is the main factor that causes financial instability, which eventually leads to homelessness. So I feel like awareness on drug abuse, substances, and less use of it would reduce homelessness eventually in Calgary, Canada.
I think there's a lot that could be done. There are so many buildings that are just sitting empty right now in downtown, and those can be taken in and turned into subsidized housing. They could be turned into public service buildings. They could be turned into different shelters or organizations to help people get food, resources, and all that kind of stuff.
Some people are here chronically because they have mental health issues and there's no solution to that. Some people are here just because life has thrown them a really ugly curve and they kind of can't get out of it. And so I don't think there is such a thing as a simple single solution. There's not. You've got to figure out why people are on the street and then figure out how can we get them off. And if you're throwing government money at it, then do the stuff that's the easiest and cheapest first. And the harder stuff you will eventually get to, but it'll take time.
I don't know. I think more people to be aware of what homelessness and poverty looks like. There's people who have full-time jobs and they're living on the streets. So I think more programs for people who are in those situations, and more compassion and more education around what that looks like.
Well, I think it's a matter of trying to set up some provincial and federal programs so that we're looking after those that can't unfortunately look after themselves at that moment. We seem to be fixated on the rich getting richer, and I think we need to pay close attention to the degradation of our society right now.
Currently, funny you ask us, we're Regina, our Silver Sage Housing Corporation. So biggest thing is more resources, especially rehab centers, stuff like that, actual programs where people can, more shelters definitely, but more program resources for people, just so that they're able to get the help that they need is the biggest thing I would say.
More shelters for people. More, because now we're using hotels for people who don't have and that's really expensive to put people in a hotel for a few nights. So if we had more shelters and we had more housing that we could get people into quickly, then we'd be better off that way. But unfortunately, we do have a housing crisis as well.
I think something like a universal basic income of some kind could go a long way. I know that folks need supports. It's not a deficiency in the person. Folks just need supports, and they need supports everywhere. This is a worldwide issue. This isn't a local thing. This isn't, the people around here are no good, or the people over there are, need to do something. Folks just need supports, and so taking care of basic needs so folks can be safe, I think can help people get back on their feet.
I won't mention a party here, but the tendency to continue to decrease taxes makes it very difficult to help poverty in this country. I think there needs to be more of a strategy that could be developed by a coalition kind of talk as to how we can solve these problems, how we can help the poor and bring them out of poverty.
I think it has to be recognized as everyone's issue, as opposed to just people that may not have what others have. So I think the ability to think outside the box, to share. Having been in Europe, we were in Ireland recently, even having public bathrooms that were accessible and clean in a non-judgmental way is one thing that we could do.
There needs to be a change, that's for sure. We need more housing, affordable housing, and I think our government could probably do a lot better in that respect to make housing more affordable for everyone and get people the mental help that they need too, because lots of the time people in poverty, that's how they end up in poverty, right? So I think mental health supports are really important as well.
Oh, that's a good question. My gosh. I think having a drop-in center is always something that's really nice, so that people can find a place temporarily to come in to feel comfortable and then try to solve the longer term problem for homelessness.
Well, I think a basic living wage would be a really good start to improve, living standards for people in Canada. I mean, it's been tried a couple of times in pilot project kind of thing, and every one of them has worked. So I think that'd be a really good place to start.
I think funding for, again, building a social fabric as social safety nets that sort of get to the root cause of the issue. I think personally, I see a lot of times in North American government where we're perhaps treating symptoms instead of treating the root cause of these issues. You see other countries in, say, Europe or the Scandinavian countries where they have a much more diverse series of programs. Again, obviously that results in higher taxation and things like that, but I think that's money well invested instead of just money spent.